A GameStop public service announcement coming up. Alright, okay, I'm gonna bite. I don't want to start the video by saying, people ask me all the time, but this time people actually asked me to make a video about GameStop. In case you're wondering, GameStop has been dominating the stock news the last couple of weeks and kind of becoming a stock market meme for the year of 2021, and it's not even February yet. Maybe you're wondering about this particular company or what the hype is about or what's going on, or maybe you're like me, a little bit behind the 8 ball and trying to get caught up. Or maybe you're wondering if it's a good thing to invest in right now. Well, you found the right video. I'm going to do a brief history of what's been going on with GameStop the last couple of weeks and the last couple of years, and then I'll give you my opinion at the end of whether it's a good investment or not. But huge disclaimer, this is a risky one, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm just sharing what I've learned in research and passing that on to you, hoping that you enjoy it. Okay, so let's just get into the backstory of GameStop. If you don't know, GameStop is a retail video game store where you go in person to buy video games, consoles, and other collectibles and things like that. If you're in Canada, think of EB Games. In fact, EB Games is owned by the American company GameStop. So if you're in Canada, think EB Games. Now, these companies have been suffering the last couple of years because video game sales have largely shifted to being online and being able to download, so not a lot of people are going into the stores and buying stuff. As a result, GameStop has been suffering the last little while with disappointing financials and store closures and that kind of thing. This has caused a lot of the institutional investors to bet that the GameStop stock is going to decrease in value and essentially short sell the stock. Now, I'll get into what short selling is a little bit later, but for now, you need to know that that's why these big fund managers have decided to short sell on GameStop. In their opinion, the GameStop stock was overvalued and would go down with time. Now, there's another individual retail investor who I'm not going to name right now, but he is active on Reddit and essentially invested in GameStop at the end of 2019, feeling that the stock was actually undervalued. He bought up $50,000 worth of stock and endured a lot of abuse from other Reddit investors saying that he was essentially crazy. But then some interesting things started to happen in 2020. Well, there were a series of little bits of good news. While there were some investors that were saying that they would want to buy up GameStop while the price was low, thinking that Xbox and Sony, who are coming out with new consoles, are still going to be selling physical discs. They felt that this would be a reason to get behind GameStop. But really the big news came after GameStop closed a lot of its stores and saw its online sales jump over 5 times. This prompted other big investors like the co-founder of Chewy.com to buy a stake in GameStop, thinking that they can turn it into kind of like a video game Amazon type of deal. This led to a partnership between Microsoft and GameStop to expand not only its physical stores but its online store as well. And with time, sales started to go up and the Chewy.com guy increased his stake in GameStop too. Now, right around this time, which we're talking about fall 2020, the stock is doing a little bit better. However, Reddit users soon discover something that is very unique about GameStop stock. And that thing is that there are more stocks shorted for GameStop than are available in the market. Now, this is where we're going to get into what short selling is. So here's a crash course. Essentially, if you want to short sell, you're going to borrow a stock from someone and agree to give it back to them in a certain point in the future. What you do is you turn around and you sell that stock for the current price to someone else. What your bet is that the stock price over time is going to go down. When it does, you buy that share back from the person you lent it to for, let's say, half the price that you spent. You give the share back to the person you borrowed it to, and you essentially pocket the difference. So if you borrowed the stock from someone, sold it for $10, bought it back for $5, you pocket $5 and give that share back to the original person that you bought it for. Now, you may be wondering, how do you short sell more than 100% of the stocks that are on the market? Well, the person that you went and gave that share to or sold the share to can turn around and sell that share and do the same thing to someone else, do the same thing to someone else, and so on and so on. And that's how you can overdo the short sell and essentially do what's called a short squeeze. Now, with a regular trade or stock that you would normally execute, you can't lose more than the money that you put in. If you bought a stock for $10, you won't be able to lose more than $10. But when you short sell, you run the risk of losing any amount of money, especially if it goes really bad for you. Okay, so now back to GameStop. They're having more shorted shares than are available in the market. they're at the mercy of those people who hold those shares. And what happens with a short seller is that they're struggling to get the share back. They start to actually pay more than what the share is worth, which essentially drives the price of those shares up. Now, there is a group on Reddit called Wall Street Bets, and the users had organized themselves to buy up all of those options available on GameStop and agreed to hold and not to sell. So this drove the price of the stock up to crazy levels when those short sellers needed to turn around and get those shares back to the people that they borrowed them from. Now, driving the price up makes the short sellers, or essentially these institutional investors, lose a ton of money, and I'm talking billions of dollars. Now, the news goes ahead and covers the story, and now everybody else and all the other retail investors hear about it, start buying up GameStop stock and drive the price up even higher, and institutional investors lose even more money. And GameStop isn't even the only stock that is being used to do this. The Wall Street Bets guys have organized themselves to do it to 3 other struggling companies: Blackberry, Nokia, and AMC. Now, in the news more recently, Robinhood, the trading platform that is really popular in the States right now, intervened and placed holds on trading GameStop stock, which led us retail investors to feel that these large hedge fund managers were pressuring Robinhood in order to put a pause on the stock and allow them to get out of GameStop before the price rose even higher. And lo and behold, when trading resumed and Robinhood let you keep trading again, the price of GameStop stock did dip. And this led us investors to point the finger at Robinhood and other brokers to say that that is really market manipulation, which is highly, highly illegal. Further to this though, the company that pays Robinhood a fee to execute orders also lent money to one of the huge investment companies that is now on the brink of bankruptcy because they shorted GameStop. And this gets even more complicated because there are those clearing houses that process all the orders for all of these trades that are done on Robinhood and similar apps. They take a couple of days in order to get all that paperwork figured out, but they would be the ones on the hook if the company they go to get the money from is actually bankrupt and no longer there. Now, you can see how this gets complicated very quickly, but you can see that there's plausible explanations on both sides. So let's zoom out a little bit to take a higher level look at what kind of, tug of war is really going on right now. Now, like I said, manipulating the stock market is really, really illegal. And hedge fund managers are now pointing the finger at retail investors on Reddit, saying you're not allowed to organize yourself to manipulate the market. However, the Wall Street Bets people will turn around and tell you you'd be pretty naive to think that all these institutional investors haven't been getting together to strategize and manipulate the stock market themselves. The difference is that they barely ever get caught, whereas now they want to point the finger at Reddit and say that that's illegal. Why is it when the retail investor loses money, it's okay, but when the hedge funds lose money, it's all of a sudden an illegal activity? So those are the two philosophies that are kind of in this battle right now, and I really try not to tell people on this channel what to do with their money, but again, this is just for entertainment and I'm just sharing what I've researched. But I will say this, that GameStop is essentially a battleground between these two sides right now. You've got your retail investors on one side and the institutional giants on the other. So could you make some money? Maybe. Could you turn around and lose it? Also maybe. But maybe you want to invest because you believe in this underlying cause and you want to support the little guy. You want to support the retail investor going up against these Goliaths. And you know what? What you do with your money is totally up to you. I'm just presenting the information. But I will tell you this. Please don't go use your retirement fund. Don't go use your kids' college education. And please don't use your last dollars to invest in GameStop thinking that it's going to double, because it could just as well go to zero overnight and you could be left with nothing. Please understand the risks, and this is a very, very risky stock to be in right now. The reason that GameStop stock is doing what it does is not based on any fundamentals whatsoever. So if you had some cash to gamble with, like you were gonna go to the casino tonight anyway and put it all on red, you can put it all on GameStop, absolutely. But please understand the risks and don't use anything you don't mind losing. Now, I personally don't own any stake in GameStop yet, but if I did buy, I would certainly consider it a donation at this point. Well, that's it, guys. Happy investing. I hope you've kind of been caught up on the backstory of this. It's something I'm gonna watch because it's super exciting, and a lot of channels are kind of doing live videos just watching the stock in the mornings. But I hope at least now you're a little bit more informed, and that concludes my public service announcement on GameStop. Until next week, have a great week, spread the wealth, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.